This hairstyle makes me feel so bougie. Welcome to this channel. My name is Angelica, aka Angie B. If you are new to this channel, I post a lot of videos about growing your natural hair, styling your natural hair, how to make sure you protect it, and all things natural hair. A little bit of beauty and skincare here and there, only when it's requested, because y'all don't watch that stuff that much. Anyway, if that seems like something you might be interested in, please consider subscribing. The subscription button is right down there, as well as the bell icon. That just makes sure that you get notifications every single time I post. In today's video, I am going to be telling you how to prevent heat damage. As you can see, my hair is straight. I am enjoying this. My hair has been straight for, this is my second week now, and it is still doing awesome. It's looking good. It is flourishing. If you want to see my silk press, my hair straightening routine, I'll link that at the end of this video and in the description box below. I will also link my hairstyle video if it's up, where I do a bunch of hairstyles, including this one. Let's get straight into how you can prevent heat damage if you want to straighten your hair. So I have 10 amazing tips on how you can prevent heat damage. Of course, I have type 4 natural hair, but these tips can literally work across the board. It doesn't matter if you have naturally straight hair, if you have type 3B hair, type 1B, if you have relaxed hair, colored hair. These tips work for everyone. But just in case you're wondering and you can't tell right now, my hair is type 4 natural hair. And it is not dyed, by the way, in case there's a question. 100% natural color. The first tip you want to do to prevent heat damage is something you do at least a week before your silk press, and this is to do a protein treatment. It doesn't have to be a deep like 2-step alpha-G protein treatment. Just do a protein treatment, and this should be any kind of hair mask that says replenishing, strengthening, anything that has those kinds of words in it, or if it actually just says protein treatment, then you can use that. This is just to help strengthen your hair so that it's strong and the bonds are all ready to take on the heat, because you know natural hair is fragile. Well, all hair is fragile, basically. That's what I was trying to say. And if your hair is like weak, or there's like a very bad protein moisture balance and your hair is very like stringy and it feels like it's going to snap, the problem with that is when you flat iron your hair, it's going to break so easily because your hair is already really weak and it can't handle the heat. So I suggest doing a protein treatment at least a week before. Now you might be thinking, why don't I just do the protein treatment on the day? This is very difficult because everyone has different hair, and some people's hair, like mine, can be a little bit protein sensitive. So if I do a specific like strong protein treatment on the day of my silk press or my flat iron, there is a chance that my hair might be more stiff. It might feel like really hard because my hair just doesn't take that well to protein. Like it feels nice and strong and healthy, and I always follow up with a moisturizing treatment, but it still feels just a little bit too strong for my liking on the actual day, and that can also cause it to be brittle and to snap. So this is why I'm saying the week before, do something that has protein in it, like mainly, and then the day of doing your actual silk press or your hair straightening routine, you can just go ahead and use something that's like a mixed treatment where it's like nourishing and replenishing. Maybe it has like a little bit of protein, but it has more like moisturizing properties, and follow up to use more moisturizing things along the way. That's what you're going to want to do to make your hair feel nice and healthy and not get heat damage. Okay, the second is pretty much self-explanatory and everybody knows this, but I suggest doing this step twice, and this is using heat protectant. Now I suggest using heat protectant on your wet hair and then using it on your dry hair, meaning before you blow dry your hair, I suggest using a heat protectant, and this is where you can really go crazy and use a lot, especially if you use one like the one I use, which is the Tresemme heat protector, which basically everyone uses. A lot of people also use the Silk Elements one. There's like a whole bunch of heat protectors, but those watery sprays, they're usually not heavy, and if they are, you should probably find one like the Tresemme one that's not heavy, so that even if you put a lot in your hair, it really doesn't affect the weight or anything like that of your hair. So I would suggest you spray a lot of that on your wet or damp hair, depending on how you like to blow dry your hair. That is up to you. I do it on soaking wet hair. I douse my hair in the heat protector. A lot of it all over my hair. I don't mean like pour and wet it, you know what I mean, but just be generous so that all your hair is covered in heat protectant. And then when it's time to flat iron after your hair is dry, I suggest using another heat protectant. Now if you don't have anything that's like a serum, you can go ahead and use the spray again, but you have to be very light-handed with it because you don't want it to weigh your hair down and make your hair get wet again, because that will cause other damage. I suggest using any kind of serum. I use the BioSilk natural. I use the BioSilk original something something serum. If you watch my flat iron routine, you see what I'm talking about, and I'll link everything I'm mentioning in the description box below. But anyway, I would suggest you use any kind of serum. I like them better, and I think it even helps smooth the hair shaft down. I know Garnier has a very popular one, and then the Chi Silk Infusion is like the most popular one. Now these are serums that make your hair look nice and sleek and shiny, but almost all of them also have heat protecting properties. So when you do this, it just helps your hair absorb the different kinds of heat protectant, so that every step of the way that you're using heat in your hair, it is very protected. The third tip is to focus on your blow dryer. Now I know there's basically no focus on the blow dryer, and if you air dry your hair and your hair comes out great and you just go straight to the silk press, then there's no point in you listening to this tip. It is pointless to you. But if you're thinking of starting to use a dryer, first of all, use a hair dryer that is meant for your hair type. If you have type 4 hair like me, and this blow dryer is meant for someone with like Asian hair and they literally just need to blow it through their hair and their hair is like super dry and fine, that might not work for you, because only recently I started using a professional hairdryer, which is the GHD, and I saw an amazing difference. My hair always feels sort of hard after I blow dry, no matter what kind of products I used before. But this time my hair felt soft, it felt flowy. Now I'm not saying you have to go and get the GHD because I know it's expensive. Just get a hairdryer that makes sure the settings are good. And also, if you've ever used like a really old blow dryer and it makes like, I don't know how to explain it, but it makes a sort of weird sound, and you just know the difference from the time you bought it till the time you hear this like weird, like it sounds very like something's hitting against metal. It just sounds old, and sometimes you can even smell like something that kind of smells a little bit like it's burning. Trust me, it'll burn your hair and your hair is going to feel super brittle, and the effects of that will be heat damage. Okay, the next tip is about your flat iron. I'm sure you could guess that was coming next. And there are two tips on this flat iron. First of all, you need to make sure that you're using the right flat iron for your hair type again. Because if I use a flat iron that was made for like type, you know those flat irons I'm talking about, where they claim to go and be like high heat or whatever, and they just do nothing. It's just like a blow dry in your hair. Those will cause heat damage, not because it's not high enough or not doing your hair enough, but most likely you continue doing multiple passes on your hair with the flat iron, and the heat will cause heat damage, and you still won't get your desired results. So find a flat iron, do some research, watch YouTube videos, go on the websites, whatever, read people's reviews, and go for the flat iron that's meant for your hair type. And then when you find that flat iron for your hair type, make sure that you set it on the correct temperature for your hair density, thickness, your hair type. Because if you have, for example, I can only give you detailed information on my own hair because I'm talking from experience on my own hair. I have type 4 hair. It is extremely thick. It is pretty coarse, and it is a lot. Like the density is high. My hair is just so much. There's nothing I can do. Like the individual amount of follicles of hair on my head are a lot. My hair is extremely full, very thick. So I always have to use my flat iron basically on the highest setting, which is between 410 and 450, depending on what the flat iron is, Fahrenheit of course. But whatever kind of flat iron you use, it's best to test it out on a lower setting first. So like for me, I know I have to put it on the highest setting because it's just my hair type. But if your hair is finer than me, it is not as thick, the texture is more silky, and maybe you're not prone to that much frizz, try starting it on like 320, just flat iron like a small piece, see how your hair reacts. If you feel like it's not straight enough, try the next piece on like 400, and when you find the perfect setting, stay on that setting, because adding too much heat for no reason, if you're going to get the same results with a lower heat setting, there's no reason for you to get that high, because again, it will cause heat damage. So just focus on your heat settings, and first of all, get a flat iron that has heat settings, because sometimes if it only has one setting, that's a problem as well. The next tip is with your flat iron again, and is to do only one pass on your hair. One slow pass. I promise you, you do not need two passes on your hair. If you're doing two fast passes, it might be the same as one slow pass, but you might still not get results that are as good as one slow pass. So just do one slow pass, concentrate, do it on the hair nice and soft, because doing it twice or three times or four times is just adding too much heat when you can just have done when you could have just done one pass and prevented all the heat damage that you're going to get. The next tip is kind of similar to the last one, but also different at the same time, and it is to do the chase method. Now, if you can do your hair in one pass without using the chase method, and you've been doing it for years and you don't get heat damage, by all means go ahead and do that. But the reason I'm suggesting doing the chase method is because it separates your hair strands evenly. It combs your hair out so there's no knots in between, because you know, if your hair is like twisted or knotted or something like that, when you straighten your hair, you're just kind of going to lock in the knot, and then that will probably create like weird bends in your hair. So then you're going to have to straighten that out and then go over with another pass of heat. So to prevent that, just do the chase method. You can use a comb, you can use a brush. Okay, the seventh tip is to do with sectioning your hair. Now, I don't mean making like big sections in your hair, because when you're flat ironing, you're going to tackle every section of your hair anyway, so it doesn't really matter in terms of making like big sections. The sections of hair I'm specifically talking about right now are the sections when you're going to flat iron, like each piece. I would highly suggest you get even sections of hair, which is why I suggest you use some kind of a rat tail comb. So you just like, make a section. It should be an even section of hair. You do this. However, whatever size of hair you get, if it's something like this, then you just, get the section, go over with the flat iron. And now the reason you need even sections is because if your hair is even, the heat distribution will be even. Even when you're doing the chase method, all your hair is going to be like at the same level, the same thickness, the same amount of hair everywhere. This provides even distribution. It actually creates a better silk press because all your hair has an even texture. It's an even distribution, and this prevents heat damage, because if you have like a weird piece of hair that's like thicker on one side and thinner on one side, the thicker side will probably be fine, but the really thin side is going to be affected, and it's going to be highly heat damaged because the heat is unbalanced. So you want to make sure you get balanced heat. Okay, our next step is about oil. This one is a major one. I have seen so many horror stories. If I find any pictures, then I'll put them up. I don't know if I've seen any of those pictures recently, but do not put any oil on your hair before flat ironing. Not even in the blow dry process, I wouldn't risk it there, but especially before flat ironing. I've seen some people put oil on their scalp, like they get I don't know, whatever oil they can think of, like especially coconut oil. People love to use coconut oil, and people say put oil on your hair and I promise you it will make your hair super straight. Yes, it will actually. It will make your hair super straight. It will also be quite permanently super straight because it causes excessive heat damage. I saw a picture of a girl, I think it was on Facebook a long time ago, and she flat ironed her hair and she put like lots of coconut oil in it. And when she washed her hair, there were literally little curls at the ends, and everything was just like straight. If you put oil in your hair, whether it's on your scalp, especially a lot of it, or actually on your hair, you will literally hear the sound of your hair frying. It will be fried. It will be sleek and straight, and maybe it will be sticky, maybe it will be flowy. But at the end of the day, once you wash your hair back and you want your hair to curl, you will have severe heat damage. So do not do that. I also suggest even heat protector. I've seen people put heat protector, like the serum kind, on every section, like on every piece of hair, you put a little bit of serum. That might just be too much product. It's going to make your hair heavy, and if you start to hear that like sizzling sound, sis, your hair is frying. The next tip sounds like a no-brainer, but trust me, it seems to not be a no-brainer, and this is only straighten your hair when it is 100% dry. I'm sure sometimes you've noticed this, maybe when you're flat ironing your hair, like if you did a blow dry or you air dried, you might find there's a little section of your hair somewhere that's a little bit damp, and you're like, it's okay, I'm just gonna go over. That's another thing. It's like you're boiling your hair. Even if you have one of those flat irons that say can be used on wet or dry hair, or it has like a steam pod or whatever, do not flat iron semi-dry hair or damp hair. Or those cringy videos on TikTok where people fry their hair and it's like sizzling and water is flying. Oh my god, those videos just make me feel so, I can't even explain it. But anyway, even if your hair is just a little bit damp, it's going to cause heat damage. So just make sure your hair is 100% dry before you get to the flat iron process. Okay, so the last tip, don't worry, it's not the last tip. We have one bonus tip, which I said I was going to mention earlier on. I'm going to mention it last. We have a bonus tip, but this is our last tip. This is use a flat iron that has completely clean plates. By clean, I mean has no scratches. I don't mean clean like it should look like it's brand new, or only use a brand new flat iron. That's not what I'm saying. First of all, you should be cleaning your flat iron because you don't want like old dirt and whatever to be going back on your hair. Your plates should be completely smooth like this. It doesn't matter if they've got a little bit of like, they look used. That's fine. It's like when you have a stove and the plates look like they've been used a little bit. That's fine. I'm talking about the kind of scratches where if you run your nail across it, your nail would kind of like go into the dent of the scratch. That will cause severe heat damage. One, it will cause breakage. Those little scratches are going to like be pulling on your hair. They'll be tugging on your hair and it causes breakage. But all flat irons, no matter how cheap, they have some sort of protective layer on the top. That's why they are so smooth. Once there are scratches, that is like straight iron hitting straight onto your hair. It will cause really bad heat damage, and it's something that's pretty overlooked because you're just like, I've been using this flat iron for years. It works amazing. My hair always comes out amazing, and your hair might come out amazing, but maybe even not this one time, but in the long run, it's going to create heat damage. So you want to make sure you stay away from flat irons that have scratches. You're just going to have to close your eyes and buy a new one or borrow one from a friend or whatever. And now for the bonus tip. This is one thing that I'm sure I'm not alone on. When you are flat ironing your hair, especially when you're doing like the chase method or something like that, there is one thing I see a lot of people do, and trust me, it causes heat damage and pretty bad heat damage. And I'm going to show you now. Just with a sample, my flat iron is off, as you saw. So let's say you're flat ironing this back section here, right? So let's say you're flat ironing this piece of hair here, right? This is what I see a lot of people do, and I'll show you where it causes heat damage. This is the correct way. This is what I do. I do this, hold my comb or my brush or whatever. Then I get my flat iron. I go ahead and run the iron down. Now what I see a lot of people do is this, and this causes damage. They will comb out the piece of hair or not, then get the flat iron, clip it, hold the flat iron there, get the comb. Sometimes it even takes a second, so you're like, oh, where's my comb? Then, little struggle, do this or this, and then start going down the hair. Now what you've done in that moment is put excessive heat on this section here. While you are waiting to pick up the comb, even if it's just a few seconds, it adds a lot of heat damage. So I would always suggest, if you're doing the chase method, always start by putting your comb or your brush or whatever you're using first. Put that, just leave enough space for the flat iron. And even if it's not enough space, that's fine, because you can just move the comb once you bring the flat iron up. So you can say, oh, that's not enough space. Drag your comb a little bit further down, get your flat iron, and go down slowly. If you're getting any value out of this video so far, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up, because it helps me and YouTube know that you like these kinds of videos, and it really does make a difference, guys. It might seem like it doesn't make a difference, but I promise you it makes a huge difference if you hit the like button. Hit my face right there if you didn't subscribe in the beginning, and make sure to hit the bell to make sure you get notifications every single time I post, and watch the 2 videos on the side of the screen right here if you're interested in those. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.